everybody. This is Bob from Begracefull with 2Ls.com. Thank you for joining me. This is the official podcast of Begracefull.com and Begracefull and all of that stuff. So whether you're checking out our Facebook group or whether you are listening to this podcast or whether you are just kind of curious and you just kind of happen to stumble into us, I'm going to give you kind of a brief explanation of what Begracefull is and kind of what I do. So hope you'll stay with me and hang with me because I hope that it helps you and that you like it and all that stuff. But at any rate, so basically what Begracefull with 2Ls.com is, it's about my 30 years plus the healing journey. I've been on a 30-year plus spiritual healing journey from a religion base to a spiritual base. And I'm going to dive into, over the next few episodes, exactly what that looks like, particularly a couple of words, spiritual freedom. Yeah, I suppose that's two words. I was about to say a word. But yeah, spiritual freedom, and what that means for me. Now, does that mean it'll mean the same thing for you? No, I'm not saying that. And, you know, if you have a different concept of what spiritual freedom or what life should look like, that's fine. Have absolutely no problem with that. Love all, judge no one, and accept the moments as kind of the divine academy. I don't know. But anyway, so I kind of want to take you to start with from my journey from, as I said, religion to spiritual freedom. I was raised religious. I don't run from that. I don't hide from that. I was raised religious. My dad was a Southern Baptist preacher, and by golly, there were things that just like you do and things that you don't do, and there was this kind of conceptualization, if you will, of a big old guy in the sky who you just don't want to piss him off. And that's kind of how I was raised, and that's kind of my background and where that comes from. And so in that kind of an idea, there is a underlying shame and condemnation that goes along with that. In fact, it's very biblical if you really want to go down that road, because in the Bible it says we were given the law so that our transgressions might increase. And so one of the things that we begin to talk about in Begracefull and in my writing, you know, if you haven't got my book, please check it out. And actually, as of the time of me cutting this track, it's not officially out yet, but the title of my book is called Unboxing Love, and I'm really excited about that. But at any rate, basically, I mean, the basic premise of what religion means to me is it means rules, it means structure, it means things that create, again, an underlying idea of shame, condemnation, guilt, and which leads to despair. On good days, it leads to ego, because you go, oh, look at me. And on bad days, it leads to depression, which it did for me continually. So again, I dive into that and do a deep dive into that in Begracefull with 2Ls. And so my background was, again, as a religious being, as a Southern Baptist preacher's kid, and there were specific things that I actually really had to follow and toe the line, boy, because there's this cosmic being. And so I always kind of wondered, but one of the questions we ask at Begracefull is, if your concept of the divine or God or whatever you call him is an asshole, why in the world would you want to be around him? I mean, I ask some difficult questions. I always have, and I guess that may be the reason why I'm more on the spiritual side now. But that's kind of where we go to, and that's kind of my present situation, is I ask those kind of tough questions. Like, and just to kind of reframe a question that a really, really great writer stated, which I really love, is simply this, and Richard Rohr is his name, R-O-H-R. But he asked this question: did Jesus come to change God's mind about man, or man's mind about God? Yes, that was a dramatic pause. And yes, I hope you will think that question along. Because here's another one for you. And I like to give questions. So just, you know, If you're listening to this podcast and you have a trouble with questions, it might not be your podcast. That's okay. But here it is. You ready? If we're supposed to love our enemies, why isn't the one that we think of as God not doing the same? Because doesn't he send all his enemies to hell? Just some thoughts for your day, and I hope you will think on these things and consider these things as we move along. Again, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Be Graceful with 2L's podcast, and we'll be talking to you in the next one.